Hey, shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasha Allah, Koholoyim La Yahweh, Bachashim Yahushai, Bahashim, and Kahakadash, double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and that by the Spirit taught us this beautiful truth. Just want to say the water to all the Achim and Ahwa that's out here sincerely keeping the laws, the statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai to the best of their ability. This is Yachanan Nawah. Just coming at you with another quick lesson, a little morning drive at the plantation, basically riding through the park. But yeah, just wanted to touch on, I was listening to the elder down in Birmingham, and he was going into a lesson on, you know, people of like kind basically being together, roughly paraphrasing. And I was just reading the book of Psalms, chapter 119. I think it's around the 73rd verse or something like that. But it talks about, you know, let me be united, roughly paraphrasing, with men that keep thy testimonies, roughly paraphrasing, something to that extent, you know. And you know, the brotherhood comes in beautifully. You know, I was kicking it with the beloved brother Allah last night. You know, it's kind of like, you know, as soon as we just start kicking it, you know, it's like we've been knowing each other forever. As soon as we start kicking it, you know, we go into the scriptures, but you know, it's a lot of laughter, a lot of you know, fun. You know, get your mind off of bullshit, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, just, and it's settling, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and you can't get that with people of the world, so to speak, you know, or carnal people, because they're not spiritual, man. They're kind of, I mean, you could have a conversation with them, you know, but it really only, it's on a carnal level where it's not benefiting anything. Like the spirit, it benefits. You know, you can kick it with a person that may not be into this truth, you know, about the game, or, you know, just something that's going on in the news, you know, shit, a damn favorite restaurant you might have ate at, or whatever the case may be. But when it comes to the spirit, it's just something different. And yeah, the elder was going off into the scripture where it talks about, you know, it's in the Apocrypha, where it talks about, you know, pretty much, you know, he was going into the analogy of, you know, you got the cat, animals, you know, or, you know, say like you got a lion, you got panthers, you got jaguars, you got mountain lions, you got, you know, cheetahs. They're all of the cat family, but they don't all hang together. You'll never see panthers just, you know, roaming with lions, or you'll never see, you know, cheetahs or whatever, you know what I'm saying, roaming with, you know, it just doesn't work that way. They're all the same in the same family, so to speak. It's, you know, like the human race, so to speak, or the race of people. You got all different races of people. We're all, you know, we bleed, you know, we all got arms, legs, heads, you know what I'm saying, nose, ears, all that shit like that. But we have a different spirit. We're not the same, and we don't all hang together like that. Even in you know, say like you go to a place like New York, or you go to California, those particular states that have a smorgasbord of everybody there, they're still separated. They're still separated. You still gonna have your Chinese neighborhood, your Japanese neighborhood, your Filipino neighborhood, your Puerto Rican neighborhood, you know, so to speak. You know, all these people are gonna generally, they're gonna move and hang with their own kind. They have their own area. It's always been that way. It's always gonna be that way. That's just the way that the Lord created it, you know. And you know, the elder was going off into duality as well. You know, he was talking about, you know, darkness and light, you know, being unequally yoked with an unbeliever, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you believe and he don't. You know, that's duality. You know, wisdom and foolish, that's duality, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just thought that was a beautiful lesson that he was going into, you know, and it's something to really contemplate, because that lets you know, because what he was going into was basically, even all of Israel are not going to get this truth. All Israel are not going to get this truth, even though they're Israelites. So even in that sense, there's a separation, you know. 2/3 not going to get it. It's not meant for them to get it. You know what I'm saying? The Lord has a chosen elect, even when it comes to that, you know. So when you have these groups and camps that's out here talking about how everybody can make it, we're all evens, we're all, you can clearly see that there's a a master and a slave mentality type of deal going on right now. It's always been that way. You can't have a ruler without someone to rule over. And Esau right now, he's ruling. This is his kingdom. And guess who he's ruling over? He's ruling over the children of Israel. So now there's going to be a flip. There's going to be, ain't going to be no just all of a sudden everybody is just, equal. That's not, the Lord didn't make things that way. You know what I'm saying? He made a up and a down. He made a, fast and slow, wet and dry. You have to have that complete duality, because what's that, Proverbs 11, I think 11:1, where it talks about how the Lord, it's an abomination to the Lord with false weights and scales, so to speak, roughly paraphrasing. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, man. It would be a false balance to have someone ruling with no one to rule over, it don't even make no sense when you think about it. It would be a false balance to have empty without full, life without death, and that's going into Ecclesiastes chapter 33, where it talks about that in verse 15, I think that is, where the Lord, he created everything in twos. So even when it comes to the Israelites, and just because they're an Israelite, that doesn't mean that they're a part of the elect. So if the 2/3, which we're praying that we're not a part of, if they're not gonna be pulled in and chosen right off like that, why would Edomites, why would the very people that the Lord set up as the crooked be set up with the straight? It's not gonna be that way in the kingdom, man. They're gonna be, they're still gonna be playing their part, and they're gonna, get their heads whooped on. They're going to go through what they put us through. That's why you have reaping and sowing. Sowing and reaping. That's another duality. You can't have sowing without reaping something from what you've sown. And that's a day-to-day basis thing. You know what I'm saying? Because being in the spirit, you want to sow in the spirit. That way you can receive spiritual things, I mean, we get carnal stuff out of it, but you know what I'm saying? You want to be on a spiritual thinking level and constantly meditating on what Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai said, because you're going to get spiritual results out of it. And these people that's out here, they're just carnal. See, when shit hits the fans, they're going to be trying to rely on what they know. They're going to try and rely on their, their mental skills, acting as if they're so smart. But that's not going to work when it comes straight down to, because this is going to be a spiritual thing that's going to be happening. It's going to be, it's a spiritual war as is, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be spiritual when the Lord lets loose Esau hardcore, full-fledged during Jacob's trouble. That's going to be a spiritual thing. Your carnal guns, you stocking up on a bunch of food and water, and doing all these different things, that's not going to make no difference in that time. It's the only thing that's going to be, if the Lord allow you to get to it and use it, that's just what it is. It's not going to be because you had this mindset and this wisdom of, I know how to survive. I've had people say I'm ready. How you know you're ready? You don't even know what, you know what I'm saying? The Lord can turn your ass into a quadruple amputee. He can take your damn arms and legs from you, have you sit in a fucking wheelchair when that time comes. You got a damn bag attached to you. You can't even get to the toilet, man, on your own. You just, we don't know. You don't know what where you're gonna be and what position you're gonna be in that day and time. We all have a lot, but that's why that Luke 21:36, it talks about how praying that you're accounted worthy enough to make it through all the things that are to come to pass, and accounted worthy enough to stand before the Son of Man, Yahweh Shai Mashiach. That's the main goal, Why you think it says pray for that? And that's something that we should be praying for, because that's directly out of Yahweh Shai's mouth. That's red letter. He said to pray for those things, because it's going to be nasty times, man. Nasty work. I mean, qualifying it, going back into the times of 70 AD as well. But, these times, that's a good prayer to pray when Jacob's troubles start, man, The scriptures was written for our learning, And them scriptures never die, man. You got these doofy ass Christians talking about how you know, the law's done away with and all this other little different stuff like that. No, the law's not done away with, man. These scriptures are alive. He came in the volume of the book. He said that not one jot or one tittle, you know, will you know, fall away or be taken away, roughly paraphrasing, you know, from the book, you know, until all be fulfilled. We're going to have these laws, statutes, and commandments written upon our minds and our hearts in the kingdom, you know. Going to have new bodies. That's what the new covenant is about. And that new covenant, again, even that, going back to what, you know, I was speaking on before at first, but what the elder was saying, you know, that's going to be for the children of Israel and the children of Israel only. They're going to be the ones with those new bodies. They're going to be the ones with the law, statutes, and commandments written on their minds and hearts, because it was given to them first. So, you know, just a quick little lesson in the spirit, man. I'm pretty much about at my destination. I just, you know, I was watching that earlier. And, you know, always, it's just, you know, when I first came into this truth, it's just something that I never thought about, you know, that duality. It makes so much sense. It's a beautiful thing. That duality, man. Super duper beautiful. Well, yeah, I'm going to end out there, man. You know, hey, so, you know, stay prayed up. Continue on, you know, reading, doing the work. Just staying focused, man, because it's definitely going into a time of, it's about to get chaotic out here because Esau turning up, man. So with that, shalom.